Hey, how everybody doing? It's 8 o'clock. I think I forgot to bring up some water. Try to wait for a few. Uh, just wait a few for, people to come in. Give everybody a little bit of time. Um, Holla at me, though, if you on here. If you watching and you getting ready to tune in. I see there's 2 people that are live. Now I see 4 people. So, hey, Sister Patricia, how you doing? Karma, Dion, thank y'all for tuning in and watching. This is going to be informational, but also it will also be something that is just good substance. And so what I'll do is explain this right here. A lot of people have seen my videos before as far as live videos, but what I've wanted to do, peace, sisters. What I've wanted to do is kind of create like in a sense, like an internet radio show, but I don't really have the means nor the time to actually develop that. How you doing, Sister Aisha? I don't have the means to do that, so I figured I could just try to be more consistent with doing live videos and breaking down the segments. Like usually I just talk, from the top of my head, things that have been on my mind, but actually I want to get more in the habit of having prepared topics and subjects and things like that, and speak from that way and develop that, because I do want to develop my speaking skills better, and this is just one of the platforms in which how I would do that. So regardless of how tired I am, came from the plantation today, putting them hours and dealing with family life and everything else, still important for us to commune, as a people. I think as African people, because this is who this platform is for, is black people, people of African descent, to be able to connect with practical solutions. I don't find enough practical solutions out there. I'm not saying that there are not any, but I don't find enough people giving practical solutions. I hear solutions, but none that are just practical or things that can be easily implemented. And I've always tried to find an easy and a simple way to be able to go about situations to see growth. So, first, what I'll say is, before I get started, I'm getting ready to get started on my first topic. The first topic is men's duty to women. And as men, our duty to our women. If you want to take some time down on the left hand side, you can share this video with other people or invite other people into the video. So I encourage you, anyone that you think would be interested in this, or you can tag them, bring them along. We're gonna make this a family session, so please do, tag people, share, invite. I appreciate it. All right, hey, Sister Diane, how you doing? Men's duty to women. I think this is very important, because when you have womanhood and you have manhood, there's a social or cultural orientation of the role of the woman and the role of the man. And in this context, I will be speaking on what is the men's role in relationship to women. And it goes beyond to one's wife or queen, girlfriend, or whatever title a couple or people might have for their social arrangement. So I believe that as men, one of our first things that we should do for women is create a safe space for a woman to be able to harness her spirit. One. And what I mean by that, by creating a safe space, I mean a place whereas the woman is feeling secure and she knows that she's secure and she can go about certain type of deep levels of thinking, creating, cleansing if need be in a secure environment. I think that's just something as men that we should do whenever we're around. Now, I understand that the ultimate way of implementing this is in your household, because that's probably the only that's probably where well, somebody like me would spend most of my time besides outside. Whereas for years I've taken a deep interest in providing a safe space for my wife, and being very concerned and having a keen eye about her comfort level. And when she's not in her comfort level, my objective is to find out what are the reasons why she's not in her comfort level, and how do we restore back the comfort level. There's a certain sacred nature of a woman. It's in a saying. I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with it. Happy wife, happy life. There's truth to that. As I said, this is not just for those who are in relationships. I think when women encounter men, there should be a certain type of appreciation of womanhood, period. Regardless of how the woman acts, regardless of how the woman treats herself. I don't believe that people... What's going on, brother? Eric LeBou, that's my... he's actually my brother. So, I do want to acknowledge him. I don't want to, just say, hey, Eric LeBou, he's not actually my blood brother. But also... Hey, I'm following that tip you gave me, remember? Haha. I'm working on it. But it's having a certain deep respect for womanhood, one. I think that is something that is very important. I think that is something that is very sacred. And that's where a lot of change to start, is with having that respect. Whereas we're solid. We show a solid personality. We show that we are able to endure, and we have the capacity to help solve problems. And I understand all women are not the same. I also understand that all women are not as open to men in certain capacities as some others. I understand that. So there's no one size fits all. However, the one thing that we all should be doing is showing a certain level of openness and respect, even if we don't get respect in return. And what I'm talking about is something that I live personally, and I've been living this way for years. So this is not advice or thoughts that I'm just giving off of the top of my head just to talk. This is something not only do I believe in, but it's my truth. There's a difference between when you believe in something and when something is your truth. When something is a belief, for the most part, is something that has not necessarily been tested. It has not underwent pressure. It has not underwent a process of struggle. So a lot of people have faulty premises of why they believe in certain things. And sometimes we find ourselves thinking that we believe in things to find out months later, days later, years later, that we do not believe in something in the way in which we thought we did. Hey, Sister Erica, thanks for tuning in. We find that out, that we didn't believe, and that's because it wasn't our truth. Your truth is a lot deeper than a belief. Your truth is something that grounds you. It's through your difficult times. It is when you're in a state of turmoil, you still hold on to that which you claim that you believed in. Some of us, through turmoil, we abandon our beliefs. We do. When it's your truth, you don't abandon it. So, and I'm not saying, as people, we don't have the right to change our beliefs. There's nothing wrong with that. We're human beings. We have the right to do that. That's part of our growth. That is a part of our evolution. That is just a part of our process. So that is something that is normal. But we want to make, or I want to make, a distinction between a belief and a truth. So what I'm saying is that when I'm speaking about what I believe or what I understand to be the men's duty to women, this is not something that I just simply believe. It is something that is my truth. I'm not going to go into the long stories of what I've been through, to express how this is my truth. But overall, as men, we need to be problem solvers. We need to be supporters, even when we don't understand. Sometimes certain things, I just bring it to my wife. I don't always understand sometimes certain things that she might be thinking or going through, or even what she's trying to convey at certain times. Even with my mother, the best thing that I can do is have a certain stillness of spirit that is communicated in a certain way of, I'm here. We can make attempts to verbally express support, but as men, our duty is to deliver and to be consistent. There are times that we need to sit back and allow our women to do what they need to do for themselves. Our women are not passengers in a car just waiting for the door to open up for us to drive it. I know that we have been socialized that way a lot of times, but that's not our overall duty as men, is to drive the wheel. It's nothing wrong with jumping in and driving the wheel, but this has to be a communicative process with the woman, her growth, how she feels, what she thinks. Her input is very much important, and her thoughts and what she thinks and what she feels is something that is very important. So that's my little breakdown of what I see as men's duty to women. If you want to comment, feel free to definitely leave a comment in the comment section, on what you're thinking or your thoughts. Please keep it relevant. If it's not relevant, I won't respond to it right now. I'll only respond to relevant comments. So for the health segment, what I wanted to talk about was drinking water. And it's something that is very simple. It's something that is, I think, also overrated. Living in this country, a lot of us are chronically dehydrated, and we don't always know that we're dehydrated. We don't understand the foods that we eat that dehydrate us, or the drinks, the sugar, and all of these different additives that come inside of these products that we consume that help to dehydrate us. And I am not a health expert. In my travels, I've met a lot of people who do not have bowel movements enough. I've known some people that say they might go once a day. I've known some people that say they go as many as 3 times, once a week. I've heard some people that say once a week. And the importance of drinking water is to constantly flush out your system. Now, water does have good minerals for your body, depending on the type of water you're drinking. Just like I don't drink tap water, and I don't advise anyone that live in America to drink tap water, since our tap water has fluoride in it, arsenic, aluminum, particles of jet fuel. You would have to check your city where you live in your locality to be able to understand what's actually in your water. And one of the problems is that we think that if water is clear, it must be clean. And that's not necessarily true. Water does not have to be clean. It does not have to look like the water that we seen in Flint, Michigan, where as a people we were led to believe that Flint, Michigan is the only place where people are suffering bad from water. A lot of us are having issues with our bones and things like that. Hey, Ashley, glad you was able to, stop through. A lot of us are having problems with our bone structures. And a lot of us don't know that when we drink tap water or water that has fluoride in it, fluoride, what it does is it eats away at your calcium. Your bones has a certain ratio of calcium and phosphorus that helps to develop strong bones. And so when a person, drinks water with fluoride, it can play a role on your bones, especially if you're not eating other things that strengthen your bones. And we have to remember, we do take showers and we wash up in this water. There's a solution to that. And those are water filters and shower filters. Is it expensive? Yes. But is it as expensive as if we calculate, not saying that everybody here buys sodas or drinks, but if you calculate how many drinks you probably buy in a year, you would actually save money having a water filter in your house that filters out a lot of the different particles that are in the water. Even a shower filter, you have to change out filters depending on the size of your family and how much water you use, will dictate how often you need to change. So pretty soon I will be getting some new water filters for my kitchen sink or for our kitchen sink to have more to drink. But we want to clean out our system. We want to have regular bowel movements, preferably one for each meal. We want to be able to flush our system out because, this is how cancer starts, colon cancer and things like that, and whatever your body cannot push out and digest, it stays in your stomach. Mucus creates a lining around it. And until it's ready to come out, it'll stay there. So it could rot, putrefy. It can do all different types of things, create bacteria, from actually in your gut. So you want to be able to drink water, and I understand that different people have different routines as well. So we want to keep up with water. For our survival section of today, I really want to key in on investing into training. And there are different aspects of training, whether we're talking about self-defense, firearms, or just training that, there's classes where you can go hiking with people. There's training is various, and rule of thumb, I always think it is a good thing to learn self-defense. I'm an advocate of that. It's very practical. I'm a martial artist myself. I find that it is something that is very needed and necessary. It's something that should become part of our everyday lives. Even if you're not training hard every day, sometimes when you're just walking around the house, you practice your techniques. You practice the things that you learn, a part of your training. You make your training a part of you. And the reason why this is so important and crucial is because of the fact that when you look at what's going on in the world, and particularly the United States, there are a lot of things that are changing. Things have been changing. there are a lot of things that are happening, and there are a lot of threats to come. There are a lot of threatening things that are happening politically. I will speak in depth about a lot of these different things in another video. I didn't want this video to be about that, but there are things that are very important politically, economically, and by least, we need to be able to know how to defend ourselves. And being domesticated in this culture, in American culture like this, sometimes we have gave up the capacity to be able to care and to do for ourselves, to protect ourselves, to protect our children, and for our children to learn how to protect themselves, you know, because it's just certain things that we do not think about, or our routines that we have fell into does not leave much time for that type of development. But we must make that time. I don't know how everybody will do for tax season. You know, for some people make out well for tax season, some people don't. But for those who do, or even if you don't make out for taxes, there has to be a way that you invest into getting training. If you are licensed to be able to use a firearm, or not just licensed, but you have you don't have a record and you can do that, I strongly recommend to take classes. I think that is something that is very practical. How you doing, Sister Levita? I think that is very practical to take classes as far as in firearms training. Very practical. Because basically where society is going at is the people that will survive are those who master the basics. Food, clothes, shelter, self-defense, preservation. This is where I see the world coming to, and primarily the United States, is being able to provide for yourself and your family and to build with like-minded people around that same aspect. Survival. Also, know your area. And what I mean by know your area is you should know the ins and outs. There are different landscapes. So, some of us might live in the inner city. Some of us might live in the country. We should know alternate routes in and out of our neighborhoods. We should know multiple ways. If the landscape allows you to maneuver different ways, we should be able to see that. If we can be able to get a map, like here in Baltimore, you can go to the city hall and you can be able to actually get a map of your neighborhood, so that you're able to see the infrastructures and the neighborhoods and things like that if that was needed. And map reading is something that is very important as well. Know your area, because you never know when there can be a situation, whereas not knowing your area can be of a detriment. So another topic that I had on my mind was social media propaganda, the power of a post. I understand Facebook to be a social experiment by the CIA. And what I mean is putting out content to see how people respond to it and to each other. How are people influenced to think certain ways? How people are influenced to act in certain ways. I think this is a very controlled platform right here. It can still be used for good, but you have to understand what you're dealing with. As most of us should already understand by now, everything is recorded. This video that I'm making is recorded. Everything that has been put up here is basically recorded and is stored data. I think people need to understand that this is stored data. And I think people should think a few times before they post, because this is stored data. There have been fusion centers developed here in the United States, and fusion centers are buildings that are created just to decipher and gather and collect information. You know, the last one that they built was in it was in Utah. And these are not things that you're going to find out on the mainstream news about these fusion centers. And so basically, we have to be careful about what we say, our thoughts. What's going on, Born? What's going on, brother? We have to be careful with our thoughts, you know, what we are actually saying. Because in short, there are laws on the books of ways of how the government can label you as a terrorist. Pretty much anybody that already disagrees with the government policies and things like that, you're already labeled a possible potential enemy combatant. That's on the law books, you know. And then when you delve deeper, you look into the National Defense Authorization Act, you'll see that if the government feels or think you're a terrorist, they can actually kidnap you. And not only can they kidnap you, but they can take you anywhere they want in the world. They can hold you indefinitely. They do not have to contact or let anybody know, and you do not have right to an attorney. That's the National Defense Authorization Act. They call it usually the NDAA Act. And just because these laws have not been used to its extreme right now does not mean that it cannot and will not be used in the future. So I foresee a future where a lot of us will be responsible at some point for what we post, you know, if they wanted to stir up a situation. So be careful. Everything is not for Facebook. Everything is not for social media. Our revolutionary ideas, you know, especially if we know that we are not prepared to deal with officers locked and loaded coming to our homes. I know some of us, you know, we think we can take them all. You know, I get it, you know, but when they come 3 o'clock in the morning and you in your bed, or 4 o'clock, or they just catch you simply when you sleep, and they have your house surrounded, you're not prepared. So we need to think about that. We need to think and be strategic about what we are saying. So the power of a post. There's a lot of information that's spread on social media, some good, mostly bad. And what I realize is that people actually, hey Queen, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. People are basically being told how to act and told how to think. The same way how for years we talked about TV being a brainwashing tool, right? Or a means of behavior modification by the television screen, by the movies we watch. We have to think now about what is social media. Because social media, in a lot of ways, have replaced television. Some people actually spend more hours actually on social media than they do the television. There are things that you can watch, things that you can listen to. You know, I mean, just by, you know, Facebook, you know, depending on some of who your friends are, I mean, you're liable to see anything. You have to remember that this site at one time was for, I think, high school and college students. It has went from that into a site where massive traffic went from MySpace to Facebook. And it can be a good tool. But there are a lot of posts, memes, and things like that. And people share, you know, we share the memes, things that resonate with us, even if that's not something that represent who we are in its totality. We share these things. These things have an impact. I see a lot of posts about, you know, you can't trust nobody but yourself, you know, these different things. And some of these memes are just coming from regular people. but all of these memes are not. Some of these memes are actually coming from, I believe this. So if I sound like a conspiracy theorist, I'll take this one on the chin. But I believe that some of the memes we're seeing are created by entities that are supported or created by the CIA and the FBI to have us in a certain mind. And what I see is that this is a reactionary generation. And what I mean by a reactionary, what's going on, brother Marcus Klein? Thank you for coming through. A reactionary generation that I'm speaking on is a generation that we are becoming a people that's so bent on emotion and responding to things so soon without providing critical thought, without having a foundation to even form a thought. I believe this, and I've seen it multiple times. I've seen it multiple times. I think there's a reason, there's a reason we've seen murders via social media. There's a certain demoralization that comes in that process with you continuously seeing, your people that was murdered, or you seeing the clips of them on Facebook, like a Corinne Gaines, the type of spirit she had, her reading her poems, and then next thing you see something on social media with her son inside of the house before she was shot and things like that. This is demoralizing and traumatizing. And this, seeing things like that, I understand that we have to be grounded in reality. But for the masses of people, it's not empowering, and it does not build strong, stable people. What it does is build confused, afraid people who do not know what to do. That's what it does. So, there have been memes put out about George Zimmerman, killed Trayvon Martin, was able to get off for it. Then he was able to say, sell the weapon that he killed him with. So, and pretty much, if the CIA or the FBI, who sees all of this, if they wanted to shut the network down or shut out certain pieces of information, you would not be able to see it if they did not want you to see it. They want you to see it. And the reason why they want you to see it is because of the fact that they already anticipate the response. And I don't think a lot of us understand how sophisticated these people are. I don't think we understand how much of our history that they know, that a lot of them as an entity understand our history better than we do ourselves. They understand the science of the brain. They understand the foundations of psychology. What I'm saying is they have people on all different levels and tiers and things like that specializes in understanding the basis of human activity. So they can even anticipate what you are likely to feel by what you hear me speak. Because they have their own doctors, they have their own psychologists, they have their own psychiatrists and things like that. So we must be mindful of these things. We must be mindful. When the movement was destabilized in the 60s and the 70s, but primarily destroying the 70s and then the advent of pushing crack into the neighborhoods in the 80s, that was a sophisticated onslaught. It was sophisticated. So back to the topic at hand is we need to watch what we post, what we share, and sometimes think about what we post and think about what type of content are we looking at. And sometimes thinking, do we even need to be on Facebook, or do we need to be on these different social media things? I've come to understand that a lot of us are dealing with deep rooted social issues. We are not receiving the type of help and assistance and understanding that we need. So we kind of hang out at Facebook. It's like a bar. You know what I'm saying? You kind of hang out at Facebook, and sometimes you don't even know why you're there. Sometimes when you're just skimming through your phone, it's just like you keep hitting the Facebook icon and you end up back there and you're reading the feed and then you're all in again and you're like, oh my gosh, where did time go? I understand that very much. We need to think deeply about how we feel from certain posts, what we're thinking, because if a post has the ability to take your mind somewhere, that can be a form of social engineering. But it's all about how far you let it go. Can your day be messed up from what you read or what you see? Can the progress that you were making in certain areas of your life be affected by your engagement on social media? So that's something that I think that should be deeply considered when we think about social media, you know, because it's not just social media, but it is a social experiment. The CIA have already made a video before talking about how they were able to shut down a lot of their surveillance systems because of Facebook. They the guy, and I can share the link once I'm done. If I forget, please somebody remind me, because I still have to eat dinner. But he spoke about how they were amazed to see how free we share our information on Facebook, in terms of we tell people where we're going, we reveal who our family are, we take pictures of ourselves, we take pictures of our children, we tell our thoughts when we're angry, sad, you know, basically, you know, and everybody don't give 100% of themselves, but what we do give of ourselves, they were surprised. And basically a free operating system like Facebook did what millions of dollars of other surveillance systems couldn't do, but it was made into something that is fun. And that's why you've seen how internet at one time, if you remember, you know, you watch the news, America Online, somebody was in the chat room, woman got raped, killed, or a child got raped, or something like that then happened. They used to advise you not to give somebody your real name. They would advise you about not sending pictures and know who you're talking to. Now, almost Facebook don't want to allow you to have an account unless you give them your real name. You got to think about that. Facial recognition. You know, you can recognize somebody's face. There's this whole surveillance apparatus here in America that people can see you through cameras, through these different agencies, and identify who you are just because of what you put on Facebook. So we'll talk about that in depth another day. But let's just be clear, you know. Are y'all still with me? Let me know y'all still with me, you know. Sounding kind of, I don't really see too many people vibing right now at the moment, so just let me know, you know what I mean, y'all still with me, you know. Like, I got one more topic, not gonna keep you long, and we'll move on. So my last segment is all right. Thank you, Sister Patricia. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Finding peace. There's a lot of different issues that are going on in the world, and there will always be issues that are around you. And in order to thrive in a healthy state, or to thrive, period, there must be peace. You must be able to be at peace. And I believe the gateway through peace is having a strong sense of self. And I've came to this conclusion is because I have been learning how to develop a sense of self. I've had dialogues with my elder about having a strong sense of self. And I have been able to observe people who I see have a strong sense of self and how they were able to endure certain things in life. And I believe as parents or guardians or just being around children, period, we should all contribute to them having a strong sense of self. Because when you have a war, I mean, when you have this world, and on an external level, it's like a war. And in the war, you build a safe haven to run for cover from incoming rounds, right? And so what I'm saying is you retreat inside. And that's the same thing about having inner peace when there are unhealthy people around you in unhealthy situations. You retreat within yourself. Not to the extent that you're not at a position to dialogue and deal with the world, but there's a certain energy or memories. There's a certain spiritual soundness within you that you can just go within and entertain your being and readjust and modify and heal your being through what you are experiencing. And I understand that it's a difficult task. A lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us were not raised to have a strong sense of self. I believe more people walk around with a weak sense of self. And it's and our parents, they could love us, and we could be loving parents, but not necessarily develop a strong sense of self. Because developing a strong sense of self is a very affectionate and very much emotionally involved, disciplined type of way of rearing a child. Whereas, for one, they have to feel secure. You have to put yourself in spaces, in places, and around people that allow you to feel secure, for one, to develop a strong sense of self. If a person does not have that as their foundation, and they understand that, and that's something that they grasp to, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to develop a sense of self. And having a sense of self is knowing what you're thinking. And when you can't sort out exactly what you're thinking, you tune certain aspects of the world out so you can find you, so you can catch back up to what's going on in the world. Because the world don't stop moving. And just because you stop to retreat from the madness does not mean that the madness will stop coming to you. So there has to be a way that you go in. And as you go in, you're able to collect yourself. Prime example, I've had different experiences in my life, certain traumatic experiences that affect me, right? So I could be somewhere and my mood change. If you don't know me on a deep spiritual level, you won't know my mood change because, my face stay the same. I'll keep talking and everything. But I notice I've gotten to a point that I feel something in my gut. And then I start noticing my thoughts. They start to change. I start not feeling so optimistic. I start feeling tired and I start feeling drained. And what I see, as soon as I go into that zone, I say, hold up, something happened. I can't remember what happened, but something happened that changed my spirit from where it was at. Hey, Sister Ya Santi Wa, what's going on, Luke Charles? What's going on, brother? Welcome. So what I have to do is collect myself. And so what I do is I sit down and I sort out my mind, the engagements and the conversations that I've had with people. Also, not only with people, but with thoughts. And sometimes I might come to the realization that it was just an extra bill that I had to pay that I wasn't factoring in. It might have just been an extra bill and it brought my mood down, Or it might be that I reflected on a conversation. What's going on, brother Easy Jackson? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. I go within and then, like I said, I could have had an unpleasant conversation with somebody. Somebody could have said something that made me feel unnerved or uneasy. And I didn't realize it at the time. It's because it was just a rapid exchange. And sometimes when you're out here in a society, everything is rushing. Everything is going like this. We're having so many rapid exchanges and things like that. And when you start to kind of wind down later, your mind start to sift through certain details. It start to sift through different things. And as it's sorting out, sometimes you start to remember like, hey, what did that mean? Or I'm not totally comfortable. I need to revisit this conversation with this individual. Or tomorrow when I do this, I need to be more efficient or more effective at doing this or that, whatever that thing is. So what I mean overall is finding a peace and a sense of self, is being able to have a grasp on yourself, and it is grounded in truth, not in falsehood. I believe that we have learned how to deceive ourselves very well into thinking that we're okay, into lying to other people that we're okay, because the norm for people is not to say that I'm hurting and I need to collect myself. Prime example, What is the average way when somebody speaks to you? What is the majority responses that most people give you? You say, how you doing? People be going through hell. And I mean hell. Oh, I'm doing good. I've done it many times. And I have been learning how to change my language because I've been socialized to say that I'm doing good when I'm really not doing good. I'm not saying you got to break down and melt down on people and tell them everything that you're going about in your life. But I want us to think about how our language has been arranged a certain way because of how we've been taught. There's nothing wrong with saying that you're good. But, you know, like prime example, like my elder, prime example, like when he's going through things sometimes, when I ask him how he's doing, he say, I'm a soldier, man. I'm taking my beat and standing on my feet. I say, that's a different way to respond to something, you know. It's saying he's taking a beating, but he's going to be triumphant, you know. So we have been socialized to give quick responses to a lot of things. And like I say, I'm not an advocate for going around telling everybody necessarily your business, especially if you're not in the best spiritual place to do that, you know. And I don't think you should be telling anybody your business who you don't have a certain level of trust for. You're not prepared to come along with telling people certain details about what you're going through, because everybody do not mean good. I just want everybody to pay attention to how we're taught to have a deceptive nature in society just by speaking. To say that, oh, I'm doing good. Oh, I'm doing all right. Oh, I'm straight. I'm cool. You know? Because we don't really... What's going on, brother Capra? Thanks for tuning in. We don't really know how to... even on a minimum level, we don't know how to really express our sentiments in a fitting way with strangers. And I think that is an art that needs to be mastered. You know, you never know which stranger that might understand, you know. So prime example, I've heard some people, you know, I've had better days, you know. That's an honest response, you know. So the sense of self, as I was saying before I leave out of this and go to the last segment, the overall sense of self is just basically having a powerful grasp on who you are and what you feel, what you think. And it don't matter what it is. Sometimes we think things and we are ashamed that we think things, and we're hurt that we think certain things. And so we don't even want to admit it to ourselves of what we think and what we consider. We should not do that, because we're doing ourselves a disservice. And to have a strong sense of self is to really be in tune with who you are, good and bad. So my last segment is just give everybody an update on my music. My music has been it's been a tough challenge. It's been a very tough challenge, primarily because not only am I I'm a family man, but my family has always had to be very frugal. I'm glad you was able to get something, sister. Y'all glad. Thank you. It's always been a rough spot between not just being necessarily a family man. My wife is very supportive of me doing music, but the whole thing of balancing between the plantation and the other obligations and the finances that come with it. So I've been sitting on some music. You know, I've been sitting on some music. I have People Under Siege. You can go to IamPoetDeep.bandcamp.com. Download it from there. My link is on the page, on the post. I Am Poet Deep at Facebook. Please, please go there, like it, check out the content. I mean, I have literally like a library full of content, and I'm not just, rapping and talking, nonsense, but, I appreciate. Check the brother out, check me out, check out my, give some criticism, I'm all open to that. My emotions are not in my work when it comes to people evaluating, what they like and what they don't like. But I have a library full of videos, with other talks and stuff like that. You can go to my I Am Poet Deep page to check that out. But overall, I plan to release an EP like around February. So what I've had to do because of my situation, I appreciate it, sister. I've tried to be practical. I've tried to be practical and not run it as hard as a business as I was before, because it's a lot of mental stress that come with it. It's like usually I'll have a release date for you. I mean, everything just be lined up. But right now it's not the season for that. There's a lot of extremes that I'm going through. So I'm not able to give it that type of attention nor time. However, I have work that's being produced right now as we speak. I think I'm gonna release it in February. But I have an EP with a band that I'm a part of called The Connected Collective, and that's coming out. I gotta look at release date, but it'll be February. That's a good piece of work. It's gonna have 5 tracks on there, short EP, but it's very nice. Live instruments. My sister Chelsea Monet is on that joint rocking. My brother Barry Lutalo on there with the beats. He's rocking. He's spitting. He's rocking. I mean, it's a very nice spiritual, social type of commentary type of EP. So check that out, but my own EP, I'm going to name it. My wife actually named it. It's going to be People Under Siege. Like I say, the single is out, please get it, download it, share it, that's if you like it, but tell me what you think about it. I made it, and it's a very good piece of work that represent my artistry and my foundation and where I stand at as a man. So I really like that song. But I mean, I have like a gang of music, that's probably just be separated in time. But my plan right now is just to release more EPs. So you might find I release something and 3 months later I'm releasing something else. So this month might be a single. It's just gonna come that way. But to stay tuned, please go to my Facebook page, I Am Poet Deep. The link is there. Click it. Please like and please engage. Because I believe that when you have people that's speaking for the people, we should tune in. I have times when I like to play around with words, so that I got bars and stuff like that. But there's also social commentary, practical solutions, and things like that. And I plan to do even better by you, my audience, and things like that. And this platform right here is just a part of it. So please like the page, please share it, but get that People Under Siege. Be on the lookout for the band. I'll be letting y'all know when it'll drop. It's gonna be February, but I'm thinking about dropping my own EP, sing solo, in February as well. So if anybody got any questions, I'll sit around for a little bit questions, and then I'll just go ahead and eat dinner. But I really appreciate everyone who is watching. I can't tell everybody that's watching, but people who have submitted some of their time to check this out, I hope someone got something. If you're just tuning in, please look at this video again. I think this it turned out well in terms of the different topics that we covered, which were men's duty to women. We had a health segment on the importance of drinking water, a survival segment of investing in the training, knowing your area, social media, the power of propaganda, and finding peace through having a sense of self. And I'll continue to do this platform like this, whereas though I'll just bring different topics. So it's almost like you're just listening to the news. I don't have the ideal background that I would like or place, or even, the look, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to allow these things to hinder or hold me back. I was just speaking to some people last week when I said you got to start at the smallest level. That's what I said, and I have to live that as a truth, because that is something that is becoming my truth. It's not fully my truth right now. I have certain ways of how I want things to be, and for my family to be able to prosper, and for my community to be able to give what I can offer, I have to give it at the smallest level. And it's not for everybody. So for those who do enjoy it, please share it and embrace it. And I appreciate it. And let's build. Other than that, everybody have a good night. Make sure you like that Facebook, IamPoetDeep.com. Hold up, let me say that again. Make sure you like my page on Facebook, which is I Am Poet Deep. My website is down right now, so usually people will see me sharing IamPoetDeep.com, but I'm not at the moment. So, long story short, Sister Patricia, I'm going to answer that once I get off. Okay, since I see you asking a few things. So, matter of fact, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. How did you connect with your elder? I asked because it's hard for a woman to put her son in touch with someone that will give them good values. Do you recommend something that mothers can do? Haha, this is relevant. Okay, no, I'm going to answer you now. I connected with my elder. When I was in the organization, I was at an event. And when I was at an event, my elder had spoke. He spoke so powerful and strong. And he's a Pan-Africanist. I'm a Pan-Africanist, Pan-African nationalist, right? And this was when I first started in my path of Pan-African nationalism, which was actually about 8 years ago. So he spoke so strong and so powerful. I heard him that one time. Then I heard him speak again. And I knew he taught martial arts, and the thing was, one thing that I had connected from the beginning was, if I want to have strength, because I was just coming from the streets. When I first came into the movement, just so everybody understand, I used to smoke marijuana, I used to drink alcohol, and you could go to an event and see me there. I was always a good person, though. Always been a generous person. That's always been me. That's always been my personality. However, I used to be a very intoxicated person, and if I was tempered, then I could take things to unnecessary levels, and I was emotionally underdeveloped, and I'm still learning how to be emotionally developed. But to get back to what you said about, do I recommend something mothers can do? I think that as mothers, especially single mothers, because I'm assuming, Sister Patricia, you're speaking about a single mother, someone that will give them good values. I don't think it'll be the job of one man. And I'm not saying like you're asking for one man, but I think you would have to look at, or mothers need to look at, different progressive men. And you have to have a criteria of what you see progressive men is. And if you have some type of criteria of what a progressive man is, I mean, he might not even be into culture, but is he a man that has good values? Is he a man that'll teach his son, how to get a skill, something that he can do? Does he help him find jobs? What I'm saying is, you can control and dictate how much time your son spends with that man. Just have a criteria of what is it that man possess that you would like to see your son being orientated into, to have some understanding and appreciation, and hopefully to some point in his life where as though he starts to implement it. So if it's a basketball coach, you have different people that teach you different things. So maybe his basketball coach could just give him a team playing understanding aspect of the world. It might be a pastor of a church who has good perspectives on marriage, on manhood. All of these things are valuable in the community. I've come to learn that is that, like, I'm a Pan-African nationalist. I'm hard on the culture. I'm hard on it, However, my elder was one of the people that allowed me to see other people as being vehicles of transformation in your life. And they don't necessarily have to be part of the culture themselves. They could just be decent human beings. Because, see, sometimes, and this is aside from what you're saying, Patricia, this is just me and my overspill. But some of us get so caught up that some people are not talking about being African and things like that. We don't give ear to them. Whereas though we got to get back to the root of what an African is. The root of an African is someone who aligns themselves with the universe, the universal truth, the universal laws. It is somebody. Hey, Sister Ebony, what's going on with you? Glad you can make it. But being an African is someone who is aligned with the universe. That's what an African is, right? So what I'm saying is a person do not have to proclaim to be an African or to proclaim to be a Pan-African nationalist or African-centered to have aspects of African truths that are within them. And black people have shown that through the way how we used to deal with family at a time. People didn't know about our indigenous culture in Africa and a lot of our different practices. We did not know why our brothers were pouring out libations and stuff like that for their dead homies. It's because the culture lives through us. So what I'm saying is we need to consider that when we deal with the church, you know, and if you want to determine the level of, you know, or the boundaries of communication. As a mother, you can do that too. But that's the best advice or insight that I could give to a single mother is to watch men. You have to take time. I understand that you might have to work and other things, but if you want your son to be able to survive in this war, in this jungle, and not become a casualty or collateral damage in warfare, you are going to have to take out some time to observe men. Watch progressive men, or who proclaim, and see how they think. Go to where they're at. Have conversations with them. Question them down if you have to. They have mentorships. Look at mentorships. All of these things are healthy and helpful, you know, but have your criteria of how you judge, you know, of how you judge, because you have to protect your son. And we know all men are not what they appear to be. And that's understood. So even if you want to be around in the beginning phases because you want to protect your son, be around for the conversations. Be around for him. Be around. So Sister Diane made a great point that you can get your water tested for lead. So that's something that's important. There's other things that you have to get tested, like arsenic and stuff like that too. But we'll talk about that another time. But you definitely going to, you're welcome, sis. You're welcome. That costs to get other tests besides lead. You know, that's just on a Sister Diane as far as on that one. But anyway, I'm about to get ready to go. I've been up here longer than I expected. It's no problem because I'm building and chilling with y'all. But I hope y'all have a great night. And please, if you just tuning in, please watch this from the start. If you like what you see, please share it and make sure you like the page. I am Poet Deep because I need your support. I need you. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.